This is Breaking MedTech. I am Ryan. You are Cope. And we're with our family, the Breaking MedTech family.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We're going to come up with nicknames for them.
Oh, I like that.
Like the Swifties, except the Breakies. Medis. Techies. I don't like any of these. We're going to brainstorm this. So today we are going to talk about launching a new product, and I wrote on my notes, launching a new product, Ryan and Cope style, right? Ooh. And the idea behind this is, you got a new product. There's two kind of paths in the medtech world. You have products that have to get approved and cleared, and then you have products that don't have to, and those are the softwares or even some hardware that isn't used. We don't have to go down that whole thing.
Right.
But we see a lot of small companies launch products horribly.
Well, yeah, the problem is, let's always start with
what's the problem? You tell me.
They want to do. They launch a product, and in our opinion, they don't do it well.
Yeah.
But what it means is they don't get the market traction that they anticipated, that they promised, they believed, and they find out that they have to learn the market and who their customers are. And it's not just early adopters, or is it just early adopters, or like, is it early adopters with, dark hair, who ride tricycles and live in the Southern Hemisphere? Like, I don't like finding that under live fire.
Yeah, you know what's...
is that a way to describe it?
Yeah,
like that's what they end up running into, right? They automatically feel like they're from behind.
So, and I was telling you, I was listening to a podcast yesterday. I joke with Cope that we're the number 3 podcast in MedTech because Omar's number 1. I don't know who number 2 is, but we're number 3. So I was listening to, what is it? State of MedTech, I think, the other day, and they had someone on who was from the SaaS world, but he was talking about like startups, small companies burning through like their first $5 million in cash because they didn't figure out all of this stuff. They didn't launch the product correctly. They didn't do all the stuff that they should have done prior to basically taking that capital and then pumping it into their business. So they end up burning through millions of dollars of cash.
Were there some examples of what he said he felt they should have been doing beforehand that stuck with you?
What we're gonna talk about. But like you got to spend the first like 12 to 18 months like building a category, going out, talking to customers. So you should sell, before you go and hire a bunch of people and like pump cash into it, you need to sell 10 of these or sell the idea of 10 of these, which we kind of talk about. We're going to talk about with like MVP. It's a little bit easier with SaaS to create an MVP that you can show people than with some hardware. And that's something that people have to get over. And we're going to talk about that. But that was the big thing, is like, you got to go talk to people, the Steve Blank thing. Like, you got to go talk to people. You got to build a category. You need to understand what people care about. You need to go sell the idea. You need to go sell the problem. You need to find out what the pain points are. You need to go do all of this stuff before you turn on the jet fuel, or turn on the jet engine, because if you put fuel into it and your jet engine's on and you're just willy-nilly all over the place, you just burn through cash. That is the problem. Like, if we're going to be like super fundamental, what's the problem? Burning through cash.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So, and I have plenty of experiences with this, having had experiences with new products that had 0 sales.
Yeah.
And taking a product out and finding it was exactly not what the market needed, which I did. And then we went and found something that did, because I stopped trying to get people to buy a product they didn't need. And I started asking them, well, what if you could make it better? If you could get something, what the heck would you do? And then they started telling me what mattered and what the problems were and what the issues were. I was like, oh. And we were ready to design a whole different system to meet that need. And we happened to find one instead. And then we started to sell it. We sold a lot of it. And it was sort of by happenstance at this point, but we were using a product that was a finished product, but I quickly turned it into a prototype because I could say to people, "Hey, this is a prototype," but it's a thing to engage with you, to discuss what do you like about it, what do you dislike, why? Tell me why, right? And this is something that I'm curious what that guy was saying on Omar's pod.
Yeah.
But it sounds like that's what he was talking about, and we can talk about an brief overview of the lean startup shortly here.
So
go ahead.
Let me put you in a role that I know that you're going to love that I'm going to say. But like, if I'm telling you, hey, Mark,
basketball coach, the Denver Nuggets. No, okay, all right. Sorry.
You and your twin, Jokic. So I'm hiring you as a chief commercialization officer. Okay.
Okay.
You have and most of these groups don't hire chief commercialization officers until they have sold a couple, whatever. I'm hiring you as a chief commercialization officer.
Okay.
You are selling something that doesn't have to be FDA cleared. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So
yeah.
we're going to make it a little bit easier. Then we're going to turn on hard mode. It doesn't have to be FDA cleared. What are you doing in the healthcare world?
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm going to ask you a question or two. How far along in the development process are we? Finished product?
No.
Okay. Right. Okay. So we're creating it and sort of, okay. Number one, do we know who we think our end user customers
Yeah.
are? Probably, right?
So we think we know who our end user customers are, or we know who our end user customers are. Okay.
Okay. I'm currently doing this for 3 different companies right now.
Okay.
And here's what I'm doing. I'm going to who they think their customers are. Okay. And they may be right. I'm saying because they're still very early on, right? And I'm saying to the people who are those potential customers, I'm not here to sell you this thing. I'm holding up a pen. I'm not here to sell it to you, but I want to show you a little bit, like, here's the concept behind it. But really what I want to do is I want to ask you, if I came to you with something like that and said it did this or saved that, or does that matter? Do you care about that? Like, if I say it saves you time and you say, well, how much? I say 10 minutes. Is that, like, in your head, is that valuable enough? Do you actually care? Do you calculate? And I know the questions I need to ask because for whatever reason, I tend to be pretty good at it. But if I start to do that at 5 or 6 or 8, 12 places, and that's why, like I've told you, I go to AORN, I go to some of these other meetings, not to sell stuff, to shut up and listen and ask questions and learn. When I have 5 or 6 saying to me, "Oh my gosh, yeah, here's the problem. Here's what's killing us. Here's why we can't scale. Here's what," and my thing may help with that, or I hadn't prioritized that part of it. I thought like this other thing was important. Same customer, same end user, but they're saying, "Well, that's nice, but does it help me with this?" And mine does. Well, now I have from a sales standpoint and a marketing standpoint, I now have a much better message that when I say to them, okay, cool. When I come back, we're still working on this thing. But now I know what matters to you guys. If I think we do that, could I come back and show it to you? And they're always like, yes, please. As a matter of fact, let me know when you have it because this problem is killing us, right? And sometimes we don't have a solution to the problem. And sometimes one customer, a one-off gives you one answer. Mm-hmm. When you start talking to 5 or 6 and you hear the same things, and they start to tell you, because you're not selling something to them, you're pitching a minimum viable product idea, right? It doesn't have to be a physical device. They tell me everything because I actually say to them, like, look, if I show you something and you just absolutely fall in love with it, I still can't sell it to you. Like, we haven't built it, we haven't gotten it approved, we haven't got whatever. But I'm doing early market research to know what actually matters. We think this is valuable. Mm-hmm. I'd much rather know if you think it's valuable. And I'm interviewing 10 to 12 of you people. And all of a sudden, it's what they used to call market research. But you do it beforehand, or at least as you get close, and you can drill down. And here's what happens. They tell you all kinds of interesting things you didn't know. They tell you what they value and what they don't value as much. And about 1/3 of them become your first customers overnight. Mm-hmm. Because they're like, wait a minute, wait. I could use that Tuesday. Is this thing's available? That's what happens.
Yeah.
So these companies, right? Like, I'm going to become an accidental salesperson for these companies because a third of the customers are going to be like, "Hey, can I use that? Can I actually? Is this for sale?" And then I'm like, I think so, right? Or not yet, but it will be in June. So whatever.
So,
but I don't know how you go to bring something to market and not know what your customers want.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't understand how we do this.
I'm sitting here and I'm listening and I'm like, well, sure, I know that it's not true. Like, surely, lots of companies don't. This is a one-off, right? Right, Cope? Like, companies don't do it. It's not, right? You would be how many people? It's really common. And I was having a conversation with someone the other day before who is developing something who, it doesn't have to go through FDA clearance. They have a prototype. They are going to be doing a pilot at the end of June. And honestly going to put like their product through the ringer, right? So they're going to be, I know you don't like the term pilot.
You saw me roll my eyes. I tried not to.
But it truly is a pilot. Like it's never been used in a clinical setting before. So like you want to call it whatever it is. It's like a true pilot. And what
that's a legit pilot.
Cope's issue with pilots is like when people are doing evaluations and they call them pilots and then they lead to like a team doing a ton of work and then it just doesn't go anywhere. So like this is like a true like crash test pilot, like Top Gun Maverick when he definitely would have died and not ended up in a diner. He like this is a pilot, and he is a really smart. And I told Cope, I was like, I wish I was as smart as this person is. They are so much smarter than me. And I gave him the advice. I was like, you got to start thinking about commercialization now. That doesn't mean that your product is going to end up being commercialized. I'm not telling you that it's going to end up being commercialized. But you got to start thinking about it now. You got to start thinking about the way that people describe the problem. Does this matter to them? I know that it might matter to one site. Can we get in front of multiple sites? Can you go talk to multiple people? Can you figure out what you're going to say? You got to start thinking about commercialization now and not in 4 months from now when your pilot's over, because what happens is in 4 months from now, your pilot's over. Let's say your pilot goes really well. Let's say your evaluation goes really well. You're now 4 months behind because you didn't pay attention to all the important stuff that you should have paid attention during the development phase, which is really what I think you're like, hey, you're going and talking to people, you're figuring out, you're doing all these things.
Go ahead. No, I think you make great points. I think you're being a bit vague, though. I think you're saying they need to be they're ignoring the important things or seeing the important things, but I don't know what are the important things.
For me, important things, right? Because we're not like, I joked before we did this, like you and I don't care about regulatory and operations. We're big dum-dums. But like I told him specifically, I was like, messaging, super important. I don't care what anyone says. Messaging is used in sales. Messaging is used in marketing. You need to make a messaging framework. And I'm going to help him make a messaging framework. And we're going to make a messaging framework based off of what he thinks should be the messaging framework. And then I told him, this is going to be a science experiment. You're going to test it out. You're going to describe it specific ways. You're going to listen to what people say. You're going to test it out. Hey, people respond to it more. They seem to care about this benefit more than this benefit. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. All of these things, all these conversations, all these things. So like, that's the thing that you should be doing. And that is I would say the commercialization part that people forget about, the launching part that people forget about. They're so obsessed with the price aspect of like, what are people going to pay for it? What are people going to pay for it? What are people going to pay for it? Again, Cope just rolled his eyes. Because it's like, that's what you and I hear is like, whoa, what are people going to pay for it? I don't know. I don't care. But if you can't describe it to people, no one pay zero.
And here's what I would say to those folks. That's what you should have been figuring out 18 months ago.
Yeah.
right? Like that's your minimum viable product, except it's not a product, it's concept. What, and that's what Steve Blank and the MVP. Steve Blank didn't create Lean Startup. He's just the godfather of it, right? He's the guy who sort of is the professor who teaches it to everybody, and his stories are unreal. And they're great, and he's absolutely right. And that's what I want to know. And do I have 60 seconds to tell a story of a person I met at a meeting last year in Philadelphia?
Yeah.
27-year-old Cornell MBA grad in the entrepreneurial program. And she was not what you would describe as a warm, outgoing person.
I remember you telling me this.
She's fascinating, right? But she just looked irritable all the time. And she was in front of a group of these healthcare entrepreneurs who were basically people who work for like KPMG. Yeah, entrepreneurs. Okay. And so this girl is talking about the product she created. And her mentor from the Cornell program is goading her to talk about it. And she looks about as comfortable as me at a field hockey game. Side joke. And she tells these people, like, listen, I want to build a platform to help get behavioral specialists, physicians for kids and kids who need these things together, right? Because it's hard for them to find, and it was actually a great idea. She said, so I spent 10, 12 months on Facebook, on wherever everybody was in that field, and just made connections and talked and listened to people and commented, and they were like, yeah, we need this, it's terrible. And she was saying, well, if you had something, how would you use it? What would you do? And they're like, oh, it'd be awesome. And all these people, hundreds of people told her this. And she's like, hey, okay, so I designed this platform where you guys can connect with patients and patients can connect with you, and we can make behavioral health for adolescents and kids much more accessible and easier. And people are like, we're in. And she's like, yeah, it's for sale, and it's going to cost $20,000, whatever. She had $600,000 of orders. And then she's like, I guess I should build the platform. And the people in the room had no idea what she's talking about. They're like, what? And there's 100 people in here. And her advisor goes, say that again. She's like, well, I had $600,000 of orders. So I decided at that point I should probably build the platform. She basically built a product. She crowdsourced a product build. And it was really easy for her to get venture capital money because she already had orders in the bag. And then she just had to build the product, which she was a coder, so it was easy. She did it in like 3 weeks. She's like, but now I knew exactly what they wanted. I knew what wasn't important, and I knew what was important. I didn't build anything onto it that I thought they might need that nobody needed. I talked to her afterwards. These people in this room from KPMG and all their little accounting nerds didn't even know what to say to her. I walked over and I'm like, Lean Startup, Steve Blank. She's like, oh my God, yes. How else does anybody design and create a product? And I was like, come hang with me for a little while. I'll show you how people do it. That's an extreme case.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, if I hire salespeople who are going to go commercialize my product, I better have a couple customers. I better know what the sales process is like. I better know why they buy, what they prioritize, what matters, and what do we do to help with that. And if you don't know that, you're probably building something that has a bunch of crap on it that nobody needs and might be missing stuff that the customers want, if you even know who your customer is.
Yeah. So
and that's the problem.
I think the takeaway would be like, before you launch a new product, there's so much work that you should have done. And again, like, I can't build you a time machine. I could just tell you, like, moving forward, here's what you need to go talk to customers before, like, and I know software is extreme because you can
Ryan, I did this with a disposable
that's
right?
my point.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So like software is a little bit extreme where like you can get $600,000 in order and spin something up in like a month. But what you should be doing is, if your plan is like, hey, you've done some pre-research, you're like, hey, I think there's a market here. Hey, I think I know what I'm doing. Like, hey, all of these things, you're figuring it out. While you're developing that product, or while you are designing the product, you should be going out there and talking to as many people as possible, because when you then go to launch a new product, you're actually going to be able to launch it so much faster. And it should be what would be the easy version would be like, what do I do? Go talk to people. Create a hypothesis.
Yep.
I do think you need a hypothesis. I don't think you can go at it.
Absolutely.
You need a hypothesis, and then you go test it.
An example would be, I believe this surgical robot is a great choice for ASCs who can't afford the incumbent. That's your hypothesis. And then you go do what you were about to say, which is you go test that hypothesis in front of the lean startup people. If you go to those programs at Stanford, Michigan, Rutgers, whatever, they will tell you have to go stand in front of 100 customers.
Yeah.
And it is painful for these people who create these things. I don't think you have to do that, but they're doing it to make a point.
Yeah.
Right? But I would say, that's your hypothesis. Who's your buyer? ASC administrators, go talk to 10 of them and say, here's my plan. Here's what I'm thinking about. Why don't you tell me? And here's the other hard part. Is can you be quiet and listen? Right? And can you not try to sell and try to evoke response is what you're trying to do. Because it's an experiment. And that's exactly
what's a practical way to do that? Would be if we were going to give someone advice, hey, we're developing something, or hey, we're thinking about developing something. Hey, go spend. You know what I'm going to say. Go on LinkedIn. Take. You see them all the time. You just have to not be weird about it. But hey, I'll give you $50 to sit down with me for a half hour, and just let me talk to you. Now it would be great if you could do it for free, but sometimes you gotta dangle a little money out there. 50 people, $50. What is that? That's a certain amount of money.
$2,500.
$2,500.
Is it?
I know.
Yeah. 5 times 50 is $250.
Yeah. So it's $2,500. Would you not say that's a really good way to spend $2,500?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like a no-brainer, and more groups should do it. So the advice that you should take away from this, before you want to launch a new product Ryan and Cope style, while you're building your product, while you're doing go talk to people. You can talk to people about a minimal viable concept. You can talk to people. Yeah.
This just occurred to me. Can I tweak what you just said? Because I think you're absolutely right. Yeah. But I'm thinking instead of saying go talk to people, I'd say go experiment with end users. Go experiment with people. Test your theory with them, and then watch their response and document it, and ask them why. Because if you just go talk to people, they're gonna be like, But what you want to do is, would this be valuable? Would this matter? What problem would this solve? We think it would be this. Do you care about that? Right. So you're provoking a response as part of your experiment. So it's not just talk to people. That's what you're talking about to people. So I just wanted to put a finer point on it, because if somebody actually follows our guidance, and I hope they do, I want them to understand exactly what we mean. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Because I like your idea.
I just take advice. It's free advice. We don't charge people for this.
No.
Just
look, somebody that we work with, he and I did this 10 years ago for a company that had a really cool device, and they wanted us to sell it. It wasn't market ready. The reimbursement was screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
The product wasn't ready.
I know. Yeah.
Right. And I said, but I'll tell you what we will do. If you pay us, we will go put this in front of 25 of their target physicians. And we will stick it in front of them. We will just say, tell me what you like, tell me what you hate, what's important, what doesn't, but what are the questions you have? And they paid us to do it. We got them all kinds of great information. Now, I don't know that they necessarily listened to it, but I know this. They avoided more landmines because we found out about them early before they pushed a bunch of money into the table. Said, time to scale up, boys. And this works. You have to go talk to your theoretical end user and experiment with them and test your hypothesis. You will be thankful.
Well, and I would you want to know what you have to throw away? Because what stops people from doing is fear, right? You got to be okay with rejection. You have to be okay with people telling you your idea is dumb. Like you just have to be okay with it. You just have to.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to invite rejection. Tell me why this is dumb.
Yeah. Tell me why it's dumb.
Yeah, because most people, frankly, by the way, don't want to tell you if something's dumb because they don't want to hurt your feelings.
Yeah.
But you need them to say, come on, seriously.
And
what do you think?
And sometimes they're wrong, right? Like the story.
Yeah, it doesn't mean they're right, by the way.
Remember, it was the story you told me about the chief of anesthesiology at that one place.
Oh, yeah.
Who was like,
he told me I was insane. He couldn't have been more wrong.
Yeah, he was. So sometimes they're wrong. And sometimes you're wrong, but you got to be okay with being wrong. You have to be okay with people telling you that you're dumb. You have to be okay with, like, I always laugh. I tell my brother is an actor. And like, I always feel like, I don't know how he does it. Cause he gets, this is so mean, but it's like, I don't mean if you're an actor, you get rejected all of the time.
All the time.
Like you just got, your daughter is in plays, or both your children, right? Like you have to be okay with getting rejected all of the time. If you're in sales, you have to get rejected all the time. And that's why I honestly, if I was going to be like a little bit mean about it, would be like a lot of startup founders who are started by engineers and doctors and everything. Why do I think you guys struggle with it? Because nobody ever tells you no. Like no. Well, like nobody ever tells you your idea is bad. Nobody ever like.
I liked, and I liked your idea earlier, by the way, of hiring a hunter, and that's not self-serving.
Yeah,
because I am a hunter. That's not self-serving. But could you describe to the people who are listening to us what you mean by that, and if you have a sense of how you would do it? I know that might be a little bit later in the process. Yeah. Right. But could you talk about that, or is that something we should talk about at a different time?
I mean, we can talk about it in a different one, but just for this one specifically, like what's a hunter? We joke about, I know you're a hunter. Like the most hunter that you and I have ever interacted with happens to be my father. Of like, he's a hunter to a fault. You just point. He's like a dog. You just point him in a direction, and he's like, bam. Yeah. A hunter is somebody who
customer acquisition is his interest. Yeah.
Like a hunter is somebody who is going to go out, and in the world of healthcare, I would say it's someone who's comfortable with physical cold calling, even though it can be done virtually, of like has no problem strolling into any facility on planet Earth and figuring out what needs to get done to get this. It is someone who is literally like, there's the idea of like hunter gatherers applies because you have people who are gatherers who are going to, sales come in, I'm going to manage it, I'm going to handle it, and then you have hunters who hate doing that. And the only thing that they want to do is, bam, where's the new one? Where's the new one? Where's the new one? Where's the new, like, they're gonna, and I have conversations with my dad, and he's like, we yell at him sometimes because he'll be like, oh, where are you driving today? And he's like, I'm going to VCU. And I was like, why are you going to VCU? And he's like, I sent him like 6 emails. They haven't gotten back to me. And then I'll call, and I'm like, you're going to drive 5 hours to go talk. He's like, yeah. Oh yeah.
Because he knows if he gets in that building, he's going to get active.
And then
I know exactly what he's thinking.
And then I'll talk to him on the way home, and I'll be like, what's up? He's like, got the POs. Got the POs. He's a hunter. That's what hunters do, right? And why hunters are really good for small companies is like, and this, we'll talk about this because I want to design a team with you, is like the hunters are really good for small companies because when you hire a hunter, they're not going to set up a CRM. They're not going to do all these other things. If you know who they should talk to, what they should say, and you give a hunter that, your sales are going to skyrocket.
Yeah, and they will run your experiment for you, but like you can't pay them for sales. You have to pay them for hunting. That was why I wanted to bring this up, is I think a hunter can go get you these answers that you don't want to listen to, much faster if you pay them to do that. Because if you pay him for sales, he's like, well, nobody's going to buy your product. You don't even know what it is. I'm not going to go sell your product, right? But if you say, could you find this info for me? I need you to go find it. I need it sourced. I need it from 10 different people. I need whatever. And every time you do it, we'll pay you a blank. Like, your dad would be like, okay, where's what name? What's this person's name?
I mean, I've used him for that. I've literally, and the thing is like, I don't want to. It's not an immoral thing. It's like it's just you have to have a certain mentality of like a hunter. Like I joke that as a young sales rep, I learned how I could sneak into any hospital on planet Earth because my dad taught me how to do it from birth.
Sneak is
a bad word. Okay, I know how to
subtly enter a facility.
I know how. It's almost like you're stealing. No, I'm commandeering. Like I know how to navigate or get stuff, and like he was telling me I had him do something to help me out with the other day, and I needed him to. We were calling an email, not getting anything, and he was like, "Let me go. I got an idea." He's like, write a letter. I was like, write a letter. He's like, yeah, write a letter. I'm going to put samples in an envelope with your letter. And I'm going to go to the facility and I'm going to go, hey, I need to get these to these 3 people. And he got to the facility and they were like, hey, they're not here. Now, what did he do? What do hunters do? Hunters go, hey, they're expecting this from me. Okay. Yes. And they're like, hey, they're not here. And he's like, well, I need you to bring it back to them. Okay. And back to their desk. And they go, well, no one's allowed to go back there. Okay. And he's like, listen, I can't drop. They told me that they needed this. I can't drop this off with you. I can't leave this here. All right. And he makes up a fake boss. And he's like, my boss is going to be mad if I don't get this back to those people. Okay. And he was like, they were like, listen, and he's hunters. All right. So now he's talking to the security guard, and the security guard's like, he's like, all right, let me call someone else. And he calls someone else. And the guy is like, you know what? This other guy who's allowed back there, he's here. He just said he'll come. And a couple minutes later, this guy shows up and he's wearing a New York Knicks jersey. And my dad's a diehard Knicks fan. And he starts talking, and he's like, oh, here's the things. It's for these people. They get it back there. This is a facility that I've been trying to get into, and I've tried to do a version of this. Okay. I've tried to do a version of this, and it never worked for me. And he's like, I get an email from them the next week.
Yes.
That's what hunters do.
Yep.
It's someone
They hang pelts on the wall, baby.
It's someone who's like, now that doesn't mean that we closed it yet, right? But like, that's what hunters do. So go hire a hunter. Go hire a hunter to go find information for you. If you don't feel comfortable doing it, if you're like, man, I don't feel comfortable going out there, talking to people. I don't even know who to talk to. I don't know how to do it. I don't know. Go find a hunter. And like, go do it.
And this is how you launch a product, Mark and Ryan style, Cope and Ryan style.
Cope and Ryan.
Because if you don't know your customers, if you don't know what matters to them, if you're not willing to listen to them, and you don't want to have a hunter, best of luck.
Good luck.
Go with God, because nobody else is going to.
Yeah.
This has been Breaking MedTech, and we'll talk to you next time.
See ya.